just know I'm not even close to as good as he's talking about. I'll try to keep you entertained. I'll try to make it, I'll hit some bullet points. At the end, we can follow up with questions and answers. Can everybody hear me okay? Everybody at the back? I'd prefer not to go mic, but if you're okay, if you can hear me, I'll just do like this. We good? Okay, great. I was thrilled when Jeff Chalk asked me to come speak. He's been the CEO, the head of Johnson County for 20 plus years. I think he came here in '89. He was at Wichita State as assistant SID. I was a pitching coach at Wichita State. So when he asked me to do this, I was thrilled. And Coach is right. And I got some of my former players sitting over here. Everybody died laughing when I had girls. It was a no-brainer I was going to get girls. It's like, okay, here you go. And now I have 2 teenagers. So that's going to be a whole new adventure. And they did both ask me. They said, Dad, you know, you're going to speak in Kansas City. Are you nervous? I said, girls, I've given this speech 300 times, so no, I'm not nervous. Now, when I give this speech or a little motivation to like 9th graders I go to East High School every year to what I call the Brainiacs. It's the IB program. Well, then you're a little nervous because the only reason they're there is they're there to eat pizza or whatever. But so connecting with them gives me a little butterflies, but this is my element. I love doing this. Shawnee Mission North has been good to Wichita State. I came here in 1993 with Gene Stevenson, our head coach, to recruit Nate Reese, who ended up being a 4-year catcher for us, caught all the way up to AAA. Talked to him this afternoon, but he was an outstanding player for us. That was 1993. And then how many people out there remember Wichita State winning the national championship in '89? How many people were alive? Few? You guys remember, right? All right. When 1991, how many people remember us playing Creighton? Yeah, they still call this the best College World Series game ever. When we played Creighton, they still show replays of that. It was a 13-inning game. The reliever in that game that got the win for us, former Kansas City Royal, in the crowd right now, Jamie Bluma. He threw for 3 or 4 innings in that game, threw up zeros. But if you'll remember, and the only reason most of you guys will remember is I show this all the time. We had our center fielder who threw the ball and threw the Creighton player out at home plate. Does anybody remember seeing this on replays of the College World Series? And Doug Mirabelli, who went on to catch a lot of years in the big leagues with the Boston Red Sox and several other teams, did an amazing job of standing, acting like there was no chance, caught the ball, tagged the guy out. Well, Doug Mirabelli gets all the credit. The guy who made the throw, nobody ever talks about, but another Shawnee Mission North guy, Jim Audley. So that's the 2 guys. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting. Do we have any more North guys? I think that's the only 2. But Shawnee Mission North's been good to us. Kansas City's been good to us. So what I want to do is just kind of hit on some things that I think will help you guys as you get into coaching or life, really. This speech is more my element because I think the stuff I'm going to give you tonight goes way past baseball. My girls get tired of me giving this kind of a speech to them, but there's talent. You're going to get talent. At Wichita State, we always got talent. I was very blessed. The guys that I coached were much better than I ever was. But with the guys that have talent, the guys that make it to the next level and the guys that play in the big leagues are the guys that figure this out, the mental side. There's a lot of guys in AA that never get out of AA because they never figure the mental side out. And this speech right here, yes, it's more geared towards baseball, but it could be basketball, football, it could be piano lessons, it could be a drama test, it could be being in plays, whatever the case may be, but really it's just life in general. The mental side is what you've got to figure out. Okay? And this is nothing more than me coaching for 38 years. 1984, I had Randy Johnson in Alaska, big 6'10" left-hander. In 1984, Randy Johnson was not Randy Johnson. Okay, we all now think, oh, he was just a guy that rolled out of bed and won all these Cy Young awards and all that. He was a train wreck in 1984. Couldn't fill his position, couldn't throw a breaking ball for a strike, couldn't hold runners. If he had a bad game, he'd go into a funk. He was a train wreck. Okay, but he figured it out. I'd like to take credit for it, but it took him a few years after that. But when he figured it out, look out. So it doesn't just mean that if you're one of these guys that everybody thinks is this amazing talent, that you've got to figure it out either. Even the most talented guys have got to figure out the mental side. So I'm going to hit some things that I think are important. The number one thing, first thing I want to talk about is what I call comfort zone. Comfort zone. You get into a comfort zone. We, in our own minds, we make decisions on where we fit in. More teams than not go into a game and they have made a decision if they're going to win the game or not. I don't care what sport you're talking about. That's where the preparation thing comes in. That's where the mental side comes in. You've got to be able to break down barriers and get out of this comfort zone. How many KU football fans do we have? Oh, nobody's raising their hand. How many KU basketball fans? Oh, of course. Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. Basketball. Yeah. Football. No way. How many weeks ago were they playing TCU? 4 or 5? You guys remember that game? They were ahead late. How many of you people thought that they were going to win that game? You're lying. I'm kidding. You just knew it was a feeling. It was what I call mystique. When people came into Wichita State at the time that Coach was talking about, late 80s, early 90s, we had a run of 5 or 6 trips to the College World Series. One year we went 41-2 at X Stadium. People made decisions when they came into the park they were not going to beat us. It's called a mystique. So what we've got to do is we have got to get our brains to break that down. I asked Jeff Chalk when we was having dinner tonight, I said, you know, a lot of examples I give, the young generation doesn't even know who they are. I said, can I say George Brett and people know who they are? He said, yeah, I think you're safe. How many people know who George Brett is? Good, sweet. 1980, I believe it was. He was hitting above 400. But every single day in the paper, I don't care if it's the Kansas City paper, the Wichita paper, USA Today, whatever, they would do the George Brett watch. Because late in the year, August, September, he's hitting over 400, and nobody hit it over 400 since Ted Williams. Well, what happened, even with a great hitter like George Brett, all of a sudden, if you're hitting 380, nobody's saying anything. Nobody's saying anything. You just go to work. Nobody's asking you questions. The media's giving you the same questions they've given you every day. All of a sudden, you're hitting 410 every day. Would you see the ball? Did you go with that pitch? You're above a zone that people perceive you as being in. So even for a guy like George Brett, who might be the best top 5, 10 hitters ever, they put you down and they can talk you down a level because they don't see you in that realm. When guys come to Wichita State, and if they're a freshman and they're 6-1 with a 1.83 ERA, as a coach, I don't say a word about it. Because what happens if you make a big deal out of the fact that they're 6-1 with a 1 whatever ERA? If you make a huge deal out of that, what are they thinking? I'm not that good. I'm pitching above who I am. You can talk them down a level if you'll do that. So what you've got to do is you've got to just go about business, give them their props, make their corrections, and you've got to get them to believe that, no, that's what we expect, and it's not a big deal. That's just right here, comfort zone.